Hi, I'm Bill Bradley. Join me for a recent excerpt of American Voices. Jane Kim is a science illustrator. This means that she draws birds and animals the way that an artist would, but she draws them accurately so that her illustrations can be used for scientific reference. And at the same time, they are breathtakingly beautiful. She painted a 70-foot by 40-foot wall at Cornell's Lab of Ornithology. It features 243 modern families of birds. To help spread awareness of endangered species, she also painted a migrating mural of the Sierra Nevada bighorn sheep. She's the founder also of Dwell, a studio that inspires people to love and protect the earth one work at a time. Jane Kim is here now with us on American Voices. Jane, welcome.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about when you were a kid. What first interested you in art?
Well, when I was little, I had many obsessions, all of which were of animals and plants. I had a collection of teddy bears. I collected over 300 of them.
300?
Yes, 300 of them. I drew them all over my walls. I sculpted animals, and that just carried through my whole life. Art is really my voice.
How did you draw and try to recreate teddy bears?
Well, I had a subscription to Teddy Bear Review in which there were patterns to make teddy bears. So I would, meticulously follow along on these patterns and make stuffed animals of my own. And then, of course, I just collected them as much as I could. And eventually, my parents did get rid of all of them except for the ones that I made.
Teddy Bear Reviews?
Yes, it's a magazine for hobbyists and professional teddy bear makers. If you believe it, there is such a thing, and there's a serious cult of people who make teddy bears.
Well, I had a teddy bear when I was a kid.
I think we all did. That was one of the staples.
Yeah. I used to sleep with my teddy bear.
Yes. That's great. I did too.
So the Cornell Lab for Ornithology, you've created this 40-foot wall. That was a gigantic project. I mean, how big is it? How did you go about studying each bird for accuracy?
Yeah, it was a gigantic undertaking. It was about 2.5 years total. There was about 1.5 years of research and preliminary sketch work. The painting itself took 17 months on site. It's about 70 feet long, 40 feet tall. It spans 2 stories, and every single bird is painted to life size. So we have an 8-foot ostrich, we have a tiny itty-bitty spatule-tail hummingbird, we have a life-size caiman, 5-foot cassowary, you name it, all the range of birds, and there's one representative of every family of birds that we know today. What's really fun is also to see this variety of birds that you might not ever see together in the wild in one place, too. I did have to make a color palette. I created what, we called our avian Pantone, and this was a custom mix of latex paints that I used over and over again for all of the birds.
So what's your favorite bird in the mural?
Oh, that is so hard. The great hornbill. I think it's the bird that I felt where I really nailed it and got into the zone, and it took a lot less time than I thought it was going to take me, and it just felt like the brush strokes just flowed out of my brush with effortlessly. So in that way, it was unparalleled to any of the other birds that I painted. There were some that I really struggled with, eventually got some that I would say that I didn't ever really nail to my satisfaction, and I'm not going to tell you which ones those are.
Did the beauty of the birds ever shock you?
All the time, and I fear that I can't ever do it justice.
So, migrating murals of the Sierra Nevada bighorn sheep, well, what do those look like, and how did that come about, and what do you want people to know about the bighorn sheep?
Yes, the migrating mural is sort of a flagship project it's ongoing for Dwell, and the migrating mural is a series of art installations painted along migration corridors of wildlife that they share with people. So the bighorn sheep was our first series. We're actually in our second series, which is to highlight the migration of the monarch butterfly. But the reason why that came about was as I was driving down to Monterey. This is when I was still in school, and I live in San Francisco. And on these drives, I would look out into the gorgeous landscape and see a billboard. And I thought, gosh, you know what would be better than this billboard is if there were some works of art or large-scale interpretive billboards that could tell us about what we might see in this scenic drive. So that idea started to become what is now the migrating mural. And so the idea is that as you're traveling, you can see images of bighorn sheep that directly relate to their habitat. So along Highway 395 in the Eastern Sierra, there's a 120-mile stretch where you'll be able to see 6 different unique murals telling the story of bighorn sheep. So we have one on an airport hangar or on the side of a motel or at a side of the visitor center up in Lee Vining. So the wall surfaces vary, but you can see them and they're plain sight and publicly accessible. And this was really to bring awareness for the Sierra Nevada Bighorn Sheep Recovery Program through the Department of Fish and Wildlife and also the Sierra Nevada Bighorn Sheep Foundation. So really what we really try to do with our projects is to call attention to the on-the-ground conservationists who are doing the work and to tell the story of the animal. Oftentimes they're hard to see. They're in peril. At one point, the numbers of the bighorn sheep dropped to only 100 in the 90s. They're up today to about 600, so that's really great, and that's largely due to the Sierra Nevada Bighorn Sheep Recovery Program.
Well, you've written how birds teach us about romance and the human condition. So
that's right.
What are some of the things you've learned from birds and animals that you've studied and painted?
Well, I really appreciated thinking about sort of gender roles in birds, especially when I was painting at the lab. Most of the birds are actually male because those are the ones that are often more brilliantly colored. It's the ones that we identify with more and recognize better and more easily. And that started to kind of irritate me. I looked really hard for opportunities to paint female birds when it was appropriate or when it made sense. But what I really discovered in thinking about, well, why is it that all these male birds are so beautiful and brilliant? What I found very charming is that it's because the female birds were the ones to choose those brilliant male birds, and through sexual selection, the male birds became more and more beautiful, and those were the traits that got passed down. And lo and behold, you have birds like the birds of paradise, which just have this amazing plumage or amazing calls. So I like to think that that's from female self-determination. We have a lot of say in how the world is shaped.
All right. Well, that's true. I guess men can be peacocks.
Yeah, they certainly can.
You've been so deep into birds and animals. Has it changed you on a personal level?
Yeah, of course. I think that I'd like to see people becoming more in tune with the world around them that as a part of nature. I think there's often a separation of, man versus nature, but really focusing on the natural world has taught me is that we're just so connected at every level that there is no separation between man and nature.
Jane, thanks for being here on American Voices to talk about your important work.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
I've been speaking with Jane Kim. She's the founder of the art studio Inkdwell, which helps inspire people to love and protect the earth and wildlife. And she has a new book out. It's called The Wall of Birds, One Planet, 243 Families, 375 million years. To find out more, visit us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/American Voices with Senator Bill Bradley.
Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Troubles will come, troubles will release. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Troubles will come, troubles will release.
Thank you for listening to American Voices here on my YouTube channel. For more interviews celebrating the goodness and creativity of the American people, click the subscribe button below.